The vast palace of the Vereen Empire stood high above the glowing city of Shorath. Its tall crystal towers shone like silver under the light of twin suns. Inside the palace, every hall was filled with noble aliens dressed in fine robes made from woven light. Their eyes glimmered with pride and authority. The Vereen were known as one of the oldest and most powerful races in the galaxy. To them, humans were newcomers, a species still learning the laws of the stars. Rian walked through the main gate with steady steps. His boots echoed on the marble floor as a group of armored guards led him toward the grand throne hall. He wore a simple but neat blue uniform with the emblem of Earth Alliance on his shoulder. His heart beat fast, but his face showed calm. This was humanity's first diplomatic meeting with the Vereen, and he was chosen to represent his people. When he entered the throne hall, he stopped for a moment in awe. The chamber was massive, larger than any structure he had ever seen. Thousands of glowing vines hung from the ceiling like living lights. The floor was made of white stone that reflected every color of the rainbow. A wide path led to a tall throne made from crystal and silver. Around it sat hundreds of alien nobles, soldiers, and advisors. The air carried a soft scent of burning incense that reminded him of jasmine and metal. At the far end, on the crystal throne, sat Queen Saralyn of the Vereen Empire. Her long silver hair fell over her shoulders, and her golden eyes shone like two small suns. A thin crown rested on her head, shaped like the wings of a bird. Her expression was calm and distant. When she raised her hand, the entire hall fell silent. Rian bowed deeply in respect. His translator earpiece automatically shifted the alien words into English, while his speech was transmitted into the Vereen language. He introduced himself clearly, stating that he came in peace, seeking friendship and understanding between humans and the Vereen. His voice echoed across the hall, firm but respectful. Many nobles whispered among themselves. Their sharp eyes moved over him with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. To them, humans were small, fragile creatures with short lives and limited knowledge. Some of them had seen human ships before, but few had spoken to a human face to face. The sight of one standing proudly before their queen was both amusing and strange to them. Queen Saralyn leaned slightly forward. Her voice was calm and deep, carrying authority without effort. She asked Rian about Earth, about its people, and about what they hoped to offer the Vereen. Rian answered every question with honesty. He spoke about the beauty of human worlds, the oceans, the forests, and the courage of his people who had built ships to cross the void. He explained that humans sought peace, trade, and cooperation, not war. His words were simple, but they carried warmth and truth. The queen listened with quiet interest. For a moment, her expression softened. She could feel something different in his tone. It was not the usual cold diplomacy of alien envoys. There was a strange energy in his words, a spark of emotion that she found unfamiliar yet comforting. Then a tall Vereen noble rose from his seat. He wore dark armor with golden lines across his chest. His name was Lord Vathan, commander of the Queen's outer fleet and a proud warrior known for his temper. He looked down at Rian with sharp yellow eyes and spoke in a strong voice that filled the hall. "Your kind claims peace," he said, "but you are weak. Your ships are small, your technology young, your soldiers undisciplined. You ask for friendship, but what do you bring to the Empire? We have no need for the pity of lesser beings." The hall erupted in laughter from several nobles. Some clapped their hands in mock applause. Others whispered insults under their breath. The sound echoed against the high walls. Rian felt a sting of anger, but he kept his voice steady. He looked up at Lord Vathan, then turned his eyes toward the Queen. "Respect is not given," Rian said firmly. "It is earned through action and honor. If you believe humans are weak, then allow me to prove our strength." The hall grew silent again. The Queen's golden eyes glimmered with interest. Lord Vathan gave a short laugh, his pride offended. And how would a fragile human prove strength before the warriors of the Vereen? Rian stepped forward. "By your own custom," he said. "You believe in trials of honor. I challenge you to one. Not to the death, but to prove that courage is not measured by size or power." The crowd gasped. No alien had ever been challenged by a human before. The Queen raised her hand again, stopping the whispers. Her eyes studied Rian carefully. She saw no fear in his stance, only determination. After a moment, she nodded. "Very well," the Queen said. "If both agree, the trial will be held tomorrow in the palace arena. Let the gods of balance watch the truth of strength." Lord Vathan smiled cruelly, bowing before his Queen. "As you command." "I, Queen," I accept the challenge. He turned to Ryan. You will regret your words, human. Ryan bowed again to the Queen and walked backward out of the hall. He did not let his expression change. When he stepped outside, he let out a deep breath. The alien guards watched him with curiosity, some with respect. None had expected the small human to speak with such boldness. That night, Ryan prepared alone in his guest chamber. The room was elegant, filled with strange glowing art and soft music that floated through the air. He looked at the stars outside the wide window. Earth was far away, but the thought of his people gave him courage. He was not fighting for pride alone. He was fighting for how the galaxy would see humanity. He wanted them to know that humans could stand tall beside any species. In the royal chambers, Queen Saralyn stood by her balcony, looking over the city lights. Her advisor approached quietly and bowed. Your Majesty, it is unwise to allow a duel with an alien envoy. It could insult both sides. The Queen did not look away from the stars. No, she said softly. Let it happen. The court needs to see what lies within that human's heart. There is more to him than meets the eye. The next morning, the palace arena filled with thousands of aliens. The circular ground was covered with white sand that shimmered in the sunlight. High above, banners of silver and blue fluttered in the warm wind. The Queen sat on her elevated throne, surrounded by her nobles. Ryan entered the arena wearing light combat armor made by his own crew. Across from him stood Lord Vathan in full Vereen battle gear, taller and stronger, holding a long energy staff. The crowd cheered for Vathan. They expected a quick end. Ryan held a short staff of his own, modified to channel kinetic energy. He remembered the training he had undergone back on Earth, years of combat drills, discipline, and control. The signal rang out. The duel began. Vathan charged first, his staff spinning with bright blue light. Ryan dodged the first strike and rolled aside. The second swing came faster. He blocked it with both hands, feeling the shock run through his arms. The alien's strength was far greater, but Ryan moved lightly on his feet, using speed instead of power. The crowd roared as the battle continued. Ryan focused on every move, using timing and precision to counter each strike. He let Vathan grow impatient. When the alien swung wide, Ryan stepped in close and struck the staff's center, releasing an energy burst that knocked Vathan back several steps. The crowd gasped. No one had expected the human to even land a blow. Vathan snarled and attacked harder, but Ryan stayed calm. He used the alien's size against him, slipping under each attack and striking where the armor was weakest. After several exchanges, Vathan fell to one knee, his weapon broken. The hall erupted in shock. Ryan stood tall, breathing hard but unbroken. He stepped back and bowed. The challenge is complete, he said. The Queen rose from her throne. Her voice carried over the arena like music. The trial has spoken. Courage and strength live not in size, but in spirit. The human has earned our respect. The nobles lowered their heads. The laughter and mockery were gone. For the first time, the Vereen Empire saw a human not as weak, but as honorable. Ryan looked up at the Queen. Their eyes met for a brief moment. In her gaze, he saw something more than pride. He saw understanding and perhaps something deeper. The Queen turned away gracefully, but her heart felt a quiet spark she had never known before. The morning after the duel, the city of Shorath was alive with stories of what had happened in the palace arena. Every street and every hall echoed with the same name, Ryan, the human who had defeated a Vereen warlord in front of the Queen. Traders whispered about his courage. Soldiers repeated his moves during the fight, and even children played games pretending to be the brave human who stood against a giant. Inside the royal palace, Queen Saralyn sat in her garden of glowing plants, a quiet place surrounded by silver walls and small streams of crystal water. She was reading reports about trade and border disputes, but her mind kept returning to the duel. The image of the human standing tall after the battle would not leave her. She had seen countless warriors fight, but something in that human's way of fighting had felt different. It was not just skill. It was spirit. He fought not for glory, but for honor. Her chief advisor, Lady Velra, entered the garden and bowed. She was older, with short white hair and bright violet eyes that saw every detail. Your Majesty, the council has gathered. They are restless after yesterday's event. Many still believe allowing a human to challenge a noble was against tradition. The Queen nodded calmly. Let them speak. It is time they learn the meaning of true strength. The council chamber was large and bright. Around a circular table sat the highest nobles of the empire. Lord Vathan was there too, his arm wrapped in a healing band. He avoided the queen's eyes, still burning with wounded pride. When Queen Saralyn entered, everyone rose and bowed. She took her seat at the center, her golden eyes sweeping across the room. "Speak," she said softly. One noble, tall and proud, stood up first. "Your Majesty, this human insulted our customs. He should have been punished for his arrogance. The Virene Empire cannot allow such behavior." Another added, "Yes, he is strong for a human, but he is still one of a young race. To praise him too much may shame our people." The queen raised her hand and silence returned. Her voice remained calm but sharp. Did he not fight with honor? Did he not face a Virene warrior and stand unbroken? Respect must be earned, and he has earned it. We must judge not by race but by action. Her words carried weight. Even those who disagreed could not deny the truth. Still, Lord Vathan spoke next, his tone colder than before. "Perhaps, Majesty, but humans are unpredictable. Their emotions control them. They are dangerous allies." "I do not trust him." The queen looked directly at him. "Then perhaps it is not the human who lacks control, but those who fear change." The room went silent again. No one dared to challenge the queen further. The meeting ended soon after, but the tension remained. Meanwhile, Ryan walked through the palace corridors escorted by 2 guards. Everywhere he went, aliens stopped and stared. Some nodded with respect, others watched with suspicion. He understood that one victory did not erase centuries of pride. He had to prove through his actions that humans were more than what the galaxy believed. He was led to the Queen's Council chamber, where he was invited to attend a diplomatic session. The Queen wanted him to observe the politics of the Empire, to understand their customs. As he entered, he bowed respectfully. The Queen gave a small nod, allowing him to stand near her side. The council discussed a dispute between 2 border colonies. Pirates were attacking trade routes, and the outer systems demanded help from the Empire's fleet. Ryan listened carefully, then raised his hand slightly. "Your Majesty, if I may speak," he said. The Queen nodded. "You may." Ryan stepped forward. "Pirates attack where defenses are weak. If you allow humans to send patrol ships with your fleet, we can help track their movements. Our ships are smaller and faster. Together we can protect both our borders." The council members whispered among themselves. One of them said, "Humans joining our fleet is a strange idea. They lack discipline." Ryan replied calmly, "Then let us prove it through action, not words." The Queen's lips curved into a small smile. "Your proposal has value. I will consider it." After the meeting ended, the Queen asked Ryan to walk with her in the garden. The silver trees glowed softly in the evening light, and small winged creatures floated in the air like tiny lanterns. The air was cool, filled with the sound of running water. "You speak with courage," she said. "Even in front of my council you do not fear disagreement." Ryan smiled lightly. "I only speak the truth, Your Majesty. My people believe that peace must be built by those who are willing to take risks. Fear never builds anything." The Queen studied him quietly. "You are different from what I expected. Most who come before me speak with pride or false politeness. You speak with honesty." "I was raised to believe that words mean little without honor behind them," he said. "When I spoke to your people yesterday, I did not speak only for myself. I spoke for every human who dreams of a place among the stars." The Queen looked toward the sky, where the twin suns were setting in golden light. "Perhaps your kind will change the way the galaxy sees strength." At that moment, a small messenger drone flew into the garden. It projected a holographic image of a palace guard. "Your Majesty," the guard said, "Lord Vathan requests an audience. He claims it is urgent." The Queen's expression hardened slightly. "Send him in." Moments later, Lord Vathan entered the garden, bowing deeply. "Your Majesty, I bring troubling news. Scouts near the eastern border report that the Drath marauders are gathering fleets. They may attack within days." The Queen frowned. "How many ships?" "At least 30, Vathan replied. "Our nearest defense fleet can reach them in 3 days, but by then the colonies may fall." Ryan stepped forward. "If you allow it, my ship can go now. We have a faster jump drive. We can scout the area and delay the enemy until your fleet arrives." Vathan's eyes narrowed. "You would risk your life for a people not your own?" Ryan looked at him firmly. "If they are allies, then their safety is my duty. Humans believe that promises must be protected by action." The Queen's golden eyes shone softly. "Your offer is brave, human. I accept it. You will go with 2 of our scouts and report what you find. The safety of many lives depends on your success. Ryan bowed. I will not fail. Within an hour, Ryan was aboard his small scout vessel, the Orion. The ship lifted from the palace docks and shot into the dark sky. From the windows, the glowing city of Shorath slowly faded behind him. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his mission. He was not only representing Earth, but also the trust of a queen who had believed in him. The journey to the border took several hours. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the ship moved through the jump corridor. His alien escort ships followed close behind. When they exited jump space, the sight before them was grim. A fleet of dark ships floated near a mining colony, their engines glowing red. The Drath marauders had already begun their attack. Rian quickly opened communication with the Vereen scouts. Stay in formation. We will draw their attention and buy time for the Queen's fleet. The Drath ships moved fast, firing bright energy beams toward the colony. Ryan's ship dodged between debris and returned fire. His co-pilot, an AI system named Sarah, calculated attack angles while Ryan focused on the main gun. Explosions lit up the dark space around them. One of the Vereen scouts was hit, spinning out of control. Ryan guided his ship close and used a magnetic clamp to pull it away from the enemy's range. His quick action saved the crew. The remaining Drath ships turned toward him. Ryan gritted his teeth and said, "If they want me, they'll have to catch me first." He pushed the engine to maximum speed, leading the enemy away from the colony. His small ship darted through asteroid fields, dodging beams and explosions. The enemy followed, wasting time and distance. After several intense minutes, he received a signal from the Queen's main fleet. Reinforcements had arrived. The Drath ships began to retreat. Ryan turned his ship around, chasing the last of them until the battle was won. When he returned to Shorath, the palace awaited his report. The Queen listened as he stood before her throne. His uniform burned in places, but his spirit unbroken. "The colony is safe, Your Majesty," he said. "Your fleet arrived just in time. The enemy has retreated," the nobles murmured among themselves. Even Lord Vathan bowed his head slightly in respect. The Queen rose from her throne, her expression filled with pride. "You have served not only your people but mine as well," she said. "The Vereen Empire owes you honor." Ryan bowed deeply. "I only did what was right," the Queen's voice softened. "You did more than that, human. You showed us that courage is not born from power but from the heart." The court was silent again, but this time it was not from shock or anger. It was from respect. The alien empire that had once looked down upon humanity now saw a reason to admire them. As Rian left the hall that night, the Queen watched him go. For the first time in her long reign, she felt something she could not name. It was admiration, curiosity, and something deeper growing quietly within her heart. The great palace of the Vereen Empire had returned to calm after the border battle. The Drath marauders had been driven away and the outer colonies were safe once again. News of the victory spread across the empire like a warm wind after a storm. Everywhere, the people spoke of the human who had led the defense with courage and skill. Many called him the Star Guardian. Some even said he fought like a being chosen by the gods of balance. Inside the palace, Rian walked through the long corridors lined with silver columns and glowing banners. He was now treated with respect wherever he went. Guards saluted him, servants bowed, and nobles spoke politely. Still, he remained humble. He had not come to gain fame. His goal was peace and understanding between humans and the Vereen. The Queen had requested his presence in her private chamber. It was the first time she had ever invited a human to such a place. When the guards opened the tall crystal doors, Ryan stepped inside. The room was peaceful and filled with soft blue light. A fountain in the corner released a gentle sound of running water. The walls were covered in paintings that showed the long history of the Vereen Empire. Queen Saralyn sat beside the window, looking out at the glowing city of Shorath. Her long silver hair reflected the light of the twin moons. When she turned toward him, her golden eyes held both strength and kindness. "Welcome, Ryan of Earth," she said. "Please sit. We have much to discuss." Ryan bowed respectfully and sat across from her. "It is an honor, Your Majesty." She studied him quietly for a moment before speaking again. "You have done much for my people. You saved our colony, protected my soldiers, and faced danger without fear. I wish to understand what drives a human to act this way. Tell me, what gives your kind such determination?" Ryan thought carefully before answering. We are not the strongest or the oldest race. We do not have great powers like many others in this galaxy, but we have hearts that refuse to give up. Every time we fall, we rise again. We protect those we care for, even if it costs us everything. That is what being human means. The Queen nodded slowly, her eyes softening. Your words carry truth. My people have forgotten this kind of strength. We have lived with power for so long that we have stopped valuing the spirit behind it. Ryan looked around the chamber. Your palace is beautiful, but it feels lonely. Her expression changed slightly. You see much, human.
Yes, it is lonely.
When you rule an empire, you must always hide your heart. You cannot show weakness. You cannot show emotion. For centuries, I have ruled with logic and reason. Yet sometimes I wonder what it would feel like to live as your people do, to laugh without fear, to speak freely, to trust without doubt. Ryan listened with quiet respect. On Earth, we believe that leaders are strongest when they understand the hearts of their people. You may be a queen, but you are also a person. You have the right to feel. Her golden eyes met his. For a moment, neither spoke. There was something in his words that reached a part of her she had buried long ago. Before she could reply, a small chime sounded near the door. Her advisor, Lady Velra, entered and bowed. Your Majesty, forgive the interruption. The Council has received a message from the Eastern colonies. It concerns the human ambassador. Ryan stood up quickly. Is there a problem? Velra handed a small device to the Queen. A holographic image appeared above it. It showed a group of alien nobles speaking in a private chamber. They were angry, their voices filled with resentment. The human grows too close to our Queen, one said. He should not be trusted. His influence will weaken the throne. Another replied, if he continues to gain her favor, we may lose our place in the court. The Queen's face remained calm, but her eyes hardened. They forget who decides what weakens the throne, she said quietly. Rian looked uneasy. Your Majesty, I never meant to cause trouble. If my presence brings unrest, I can return to my people. The Queen shook her head firmly. No, Ryan, you have done nothing wrong. They fear what they do not understand. It is my duty to make them see the truth. You will remain here under my protection. Ryan bowed slightly. As you command. That night the palace was quiet, but the Queen could not sleep. She walked alone through her private garden, the moonlight shining across the silver leaves. Her thoughts were restless. She had ruled for centuries, seen countless ambassadors and warriors, but none had touched her mind the way this human had. There was something pure in his honesty, something she could not ignore. She remembered how he had stood in the arena, how he had faced danger without pride or anger. It was as if he carried the light of something ancient and true. She began to wonder if this human was not sent by chance, but by fate itself. The next morning, she called for Ryan again. They met in the Royal Observatory, a high tower filled with glass walls that opened to the sky. From there, they could see the stars shining like rivers of light. Your Majesty, Ryan said, this place is beautiful. It is my favorite place, she replied. When I was young, I would come here to watch the stars and dream of exploring them. Now I watch to remember why I must protect them. Ryan smiled gently. We have something similar on Earth. We look at the stars and imagine what might be out there. It reminds us how small we are, but also how much we can become. The Queen walked closer to the glass. Tell me more about your world. He told her about Earth's oceans, mountains, and forests. He described the smell of rain and the warmth of sunlight on the skin. He spoke about music, laughter, and the way people came together to rebuild after storms. The Queen listened silently, her eyes shining with interest. For the first time in many years, she felt alive while listening to someone's voice. When he finished, she said softly, Your world sounds like a place filled with both struggle and beauty. Perhaps that is why your people have such strong hearts. Ryan nodded. It is not a perfect world, but it is home. We fight for it not because it is easy, but because it is ours. The Queen smiled faintly. You speak with passion. I envy that. Their meeting was interrupted again by a sudden alarm echoing through the halls. The sound was deep and urgent. A guard rushed in, bowing quickly. Your Majesty, there is trouble in the council wing. Several nobles have gathered without permission. They are calling for your removal. Ryan's eyes widened. They plan to overthrow you? The Queen's expression turned calm and firm. They will not succeed. Still, their actions cannot be ignored. Come with me, Ryan. I would have you as witness. Together, they walked through the long corridors toward the council hall. The guards followed close behind. When they entered, a group of nobles stood in the center, their faces filled with anger. Lord Vathan was among them. "Your Majesty," he said loudly, "we do not question your power, but we question your judgment. You have allowed a human to stand at your side to influence your decisions. The Vereen Empire should not be guided by an outsider." The Queen's voice remained calm. "You speak as if my choices need your approval. Have you forgotten your oath to the throne?" Vathan raised his head high. "We have not forgotten, but we cannot stand idle while our traditions are threatened." The Queen stepped forward, her presence filling the room. "Tradition is not a cage. It is meant to guide us, not control us. The human you mock saved your colonies and your honor. If that threatens your pride, then perhaps pride is your true enemy." The nobles fell silent. None could argue against her words. Ryan stood quietly beside her, feeling both admiration and concern. He could see the strength in her, but he also saw how alone she was in that strength. After the meeting ended, the Queen walked with Ryan through the empty hall. The light from the ceiling crystals cast long shadows across the floor. "You see now why I said this palace is lonely," she said softly. "Even those who serve me cannot always see the truth." Ryan looked at her with respect. "Then let me say what they cannot. You are not alone, Your Majesty." The Queen stopped walking and looked at him. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she smiled faintly. "You are a strange human, Ryan. You speak to me as if we are equals." "Maybe that is why you invited me here," he said simply. "Because you needed someone who could." The Queen turned away, her heart unsteady. She did not know what this feeling was, but she could no longer deny it. She had begun to care for the human who stood before her, not as an envoy or a warrior, but as someone who reminded her of what it meant to be alive. That night, she stood again by her window, watching the stars. In her hand she held a small pendant shaped like the crest of her royal house. It glowed faintly in the moonlight. She whispered to herself, "Perhaps fate has brought him here for more than peace." The first light of dawn spread across the sky of the Vereen homeworld, turning the tall crystal towers of the palace into rivers of gold and silver. The morning was calm, but inside the palace, tension was growing. Guards were moving quickly, servants were whispering, and a feeling of danger hung in the air like a silent storm. Ryan woke early in his guest chamber. The alien sunlight shone through the tall window, casting soft patterns on the wall. He had slept only a few hours, his mind filled with thoughts about the Queen and what she had said the night before. Her words about humanity still echoed in his mind. There was warmth in her voice, a quiet respect that had reached his heart. He dressed and prepared to meet her again. But when he stepped into the corridor, he noticed something strange. The guards who usually stood near the corners were missing. The hallway was too quiet. His instincts, sharpened by years of service, told him something was wrong. As he walked toward the grand hall, he heard distant voices shouting. A sound of metal clashing against metal followed. It grew louder every second. Suddenly, a young palace servant came running from the corner, fear written across her pale face. "Sir Rian," she cried, "you must leave. The nobles have turned against the Queen. They are trying to take the throne." Ryan froze. "What are you saying?" "They have gathered soldiers," she said, trembling. "They are storming the inner palace. The Queen's loyal guards are fighting, but they are outnumbered." Ryan's heart started to race. "Where is the Queen now?" "She is still in the throne hall. She refused to run. She said she will not abandon her people." Ryan did not hesitate. "Then I'm going there," he said firmly. He picked up the ceremonial blade that hung on the wall beside the door. It was not his usual weapon, but it would have to do. He ran down the long halls, his boots echoing on the shining floors. As he turned the corner, a group of armored rebels appeared. Their eyes glowed faint blue beneath their helmets. They raised their rifles. Rian dove behind a pillar as the first blast hit the wall beside him. He rolled forward, grabbing a fallen weapon from a wounded guard, and fired back. His human reflexes and training gave him the edge. The aliens were stronger but slower. Within moments, he dropped the last rebel and moved on. The palace was turning into a battlefield. Explosions shook the walls. The great crystal sculptures shattered, falling like rain. Servants fled through the halls, trying to escape the chaos. Ryan could hear the cries of loyal guards calling out the Queen's name, refusing to surrender. When he reached the throne hall, he found the large doors sealed. Smoke drifted from the cracks. He pressed his ear to the door and heard shouting inside. He struck the control panel, forcing the doors open. Inside, the grand hall was covered in dust and debris. The once beautiful marble floor was scorched by plasma fire. The queen stood in the center, surrounded by her personal guards. Around them, rebel soldiers were closing in. At the front of the attackers stood Lord Varric, a noble who had always opposed the queen's fondness for humans. His armor gleamed black, his eyes full of hatred. "This is the end, Saarlin," he shouted. "You have allowed weakness to infect our people. You speak with humans, you bow to them. You are unfit to rule." Queen Saarlin stood tall, her silver gown torn and dusted with ash, but her voice remained calm. "You mistake compassion for weakness, Varric. You mistake peace for fear. You have learned nothing from our history," Varric sneered. "Then learn this. Your time is over." He raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Ryan stepped between them. The rebels froze in surprise. "Not today," Rian said. Varric's eyes narrowed. "You dare stand before me, human?" "I dare," Ryan replied. "Because your queen stands for honor. And I won't let you destroy that," Varric laughed coldly. "You think you can fight me? You are just a man." "Then you should be careful," Ryan said, raising his blade. "Because humans fight hardest when they are cornered." The hall erupted in chaos again. The queen's guards clashed with the rebels. Energy blasts lit up the air. Rian charged at Varric, their weapons colliding with a bright flash. Varric's strength was immense, each strike forcing Ryan to step back. But Rian used his agility, dodging, ducking, and countering with sharp precision. The queen watched in silence, her heart torn between fear and awe. No one had ever fought for her like this. No alien, no soldier. Not even her generals had shown this kind of loyalty. Varric swung his sword again, aiming at Ryan's chest. Ryan barely blocked it, the impact sending pain through his arms. His blade cracked. He fell to one knee. Varric raised his weapon for the final blow. But before he could strike, Saarlin shouted, "Enough!" She raised her hand, and a bright wave of energy burst from her wristband, striking Varric back several steps. "You will not harm him." Ryan seized the moment. He lunged forward and struck Varric's arm, disarming him. The rebel leader stumbled back, glaring with fury. "This isn't over, human," Varric hissed. "It ends now," Ryan said, grabbing a fallen blaster and firing at the ceiling above him. The blast caused the structure to collapse, forcing Varric and his men to retreat. When the dust settled, silence filled the hall. The queen looked around at the ruins of her throne room. Her people had fought and died to defend her. Ryan leaned against a pillar, breathing heavily, his shoulder bleeding from a burn. Saarlin rushed to him. "You are hurt?" "I've been worse," he said, forcing a weak smile. "But we need to secure the palace. There might be more of them." Her guards hurried to close the broken doors. The few remaining loyal soldiers took their positions. Outside, the sounds of fighting slowly faded. The rebellion was collapsing as news spread that the queen still stood. When peace finally returned, Saarlin turned to Ryan. "You stayed when you could have run. You risked your life for a world that is not your own." Ryan looked at her. "I couldn't leave you to face this alone. You believed in my people when no one else did. I couldn't just walk away." She stepped closer. Her eyes shimmered in the dim light. "Your bravery will be remembered, Rian of Earth. You have shown my people what true loyalty means." The queen reached out and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. Her touch was warm, her voice soft yet powerful. "You are more than an envoy now. You are a part of this history." Before he could reply, one of her guards entered the hall. "Your Majesty, the rebellion is defeated. The rest have surrendered. The palace is secure," Saarlin nodded. "Then we will rebuild. This empire will not fall today." She looked around the damaged throne hall, her expression filled with determination. "But we will rebuild it differently. No more walls between races. No more pride that blinds us. We will learn from those who showed us courage." Rian stood beside her as she faced her surviving people. He could see the fire in her eyes, the strength that made her a true ruler. As the queen addressed the court, she spoke of unity, of courage, and of the human who stood beside her when everyone else turned away. Her words echoed through the shattered hall, filling the hearts of her people with new hope. When the speech ended, she turned to Ryan again. "You have given me more than victory," she said quietly. "You have given me faith," Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe that's something humans are good at giving." The queen nodded. "And something we Vereen must learn to keep." The night that followed was quiet. The fires of battle were gone, replaced by the soft glow of the stars outside the palace dome. Ryan sat on the balcony looking at the sky. He thought about Earth, about the long journey that had brought him here. He wondered what his people would think if they knew what had happened. Queen Saralyn joined him, her silver robe flowing gently in the night breeze. For a long time neither spoke. The silence was peaceful, filled only by the sound of distant wind. "You should rest," she said softly. "Tomorrow will bring new challenges." "I'll rest when you do," Ryan replied with a small smile. The Queen smiled too. It was rare, soft, and full of warmth. "You are stubborn, human." "Maybe," he said. "But it keeps me alive." She looked at him, and for the first time there was no barrier between them. No throne, no titles, no difference in race. Only two beings who had fought side by side for something greater than themselves. In that quiet night, both knew that something had changed forever. The rebellion was over, but a new story was beginning. One that would unite two worlds under a bond stronger than war or fear. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself had taken notice of their courage. And deep inside her heart, the Queen knew that the human who had stood by her would never again be just an outsider. He was now part of her world, part of her story, and perhaps something even more. The Vereen Palace was alive once more, but not with the usual calm of ceremonial order. The echoes of battle had faded, and the halls were slowly being restored. Broken columns were being repaired, scorched floors polished, and shattered crystal windows replaced with fresh panes that reflected the twin suns. Servants and guards moved quickly, working together under the watchful eyes of loyal nobles who had survived the rebellion. Ryan walked through the palace corridors, his steps steady despite the fatigue in his muscles. His uniform was marked with small burns and scratches, a reminder of the battle he had fought to protect the Queen and the Empire. Though his body was tired, his mind was alert. He understood that the events of the past few days would leave lasting effects on the Empire, on the Queen, and on himself. When he reached the throne hall, he found it filled with nobles and guards who had returned to pay respects to the Queen. The air was thick with anticipation. Whispers passed quickly from one noble to another, all speaking of the human who had defended the crown with courage and skill. His presence was no longer seen as strange or threatening. Instead, it had earned him the admiration of many who had once doubted him. Queen Saralyn stood at the center of the hall. Her silver hair was neatly tied back, and her golden eyes glimmered with calm authority. She wore a ceremonial robe woven from threads of pure light, shining softly against her silver skin. Every eye in the hall was fixed on her, but it was Ryan's presence near the throne that drew the attention of the Queen's people. The Queen lifted her hand, and the murmurs of the crowd ceased immediately. Her voice was steady and strong, echoing throughout the grand hall. "Today the Vereen Empire has faced a trial unlike any before," she said. "Our people have been challenged by those who sought to weaken the crown, to divide our loyalty and to spread fear. We have witnessed courage, loyalty, and honor. And among those who have stood bravely, one name stands above all." She turned her gaze toward Rian. "Rian of Earth." The hall went silent. All eyes shifted to the human who had stood beside her, the envoy who had become a protector. Ryan stepped forward, bowing his head slightly in respect, unsure of what to expect next. The Queen continued, her voice filled with warmth and sincerity. "This human has not only fought for my safety, but has shown the strength of his people. Courage does not belong to the strongest arm or the largest fleet. It belongs to the heart that refuses to give in, to the mind that stands firm even in the face of fear, and to the spirit that protects those who cannot defend themselves." Gasps filled the hall as the nobles realized that the Queen was praising a human, a member of a species they had long considered weak and untested. Some bowed their heads in respect, while others stared in disbelief. The Queen stepped closer to Ryan, her golden eyes meeting his. She spoke softly, yet her words carried through the hall with undeniable power. "I wish you were my mate, human." The words echoed through the throne hall, stopping time in the hearts of everyone present. Silence fell over the crowd as nobles, guards, and servants froze in shock. No one had ever heard the Queen speak like this. Her declaration was more than a statement of affection. It was a declaration of trust, respect, and unity between two very different worlds. Rian's heart skipped a beat. He felt warmth flood through him, and he could not move for a moment. His mind raced, trying to find the right words, but all he could do was look at the Queen with quiet awe. The Queen smiled faintly, her expression softening. I have ruled for centuries, surrounded by power and pride. I have seen countless warriors and envoys. None have touched me like you have. You have shown me the strength of your people, the courage of your heart, and the honor that humans carry. For this I offer you not just gratitude, but a bond that unites our worlds. Rian finally found his voice. Your Majesty, I do not know what to say. I am honored beyond words. I only acted to protect you and your people. Saralyn reached out, placing her hand lightly on his arm. It is more than that. You have given us hope. You have reminded my people what courage truly means. You are not only a protector, but a symbol of what humans can achieve when they follow their hearts. The nobles looked on, many bowing their heads in respect, while others whispered among themselves. The Queen's words were powerful and final. No one could deny the truth they carried. Rian stepped closer to her, standing tall. Then I will continue to serve. Not for reward or recognition, but because it is right. Because you have trusted me and because your people deserve protection and hope. The Queen's eyes shone brighter. You have my trust, Rian, and I give you my respect, my friendship, and my bond. From this day forward, you will not be just a human in our empire. You will be part of it, as are all who stand for honor and courage. A gentle murmur of approval ran through the hall. Soldiers nodded, nobles whispered in agreement, and even those who had doubted him before could no longer resist the truth. Humanity had proven itself not through technology or numbers, but through heart and spirit. The Queen moved back slightly and raised her hand. Let it be known throughout the empire. Let all who hear these words understand that courage and loyalty know no race. Let every person in the Vereen Empire remember that true strength comes from the heart, and that the bonds we choose are stronger than fear or pride. Rian felt a mix of relief, pride, and awe. He realized that this moment would be remembered forever. He was not only a human envoy or warrior now. He had become part of history, part of the story of an empire that would carry his name and deeds into legend. The Queen turned to the nobles who had led the rebellion. Their faces were pale, their pride humbled. You have been tested, as have we all, she said. Your actions have consequences. Learn from them. Respect those who show courage, even if they are not of your kind. One by one, the nobles lowered their heads. Even Lord Varric, though his expression was still sharp, could not deny the truth. The human had saved the palace, protected the Queen, and proven the value of his people. The Queen's gaze returned to Rian. You may rise, Rian of Earth. The Empire welcomes you as one of its own. Rian stood tall, feeling a sense of pride and belonging he had never known before. He looked around the throne hall and saw the faces of the Vereen who had once doubted him, now filled with respect and admiration. He realized that courage, honesty, and loyalty were more powerful than prejudice or fear. He stepped forward and bowed deeply before the Queen. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to honor your trust in me. The Queen reached out and gently lifted his chin, a gesture of both warmth and command. Rise, Rian. From this moment our bond is stronger than any weapon and our alliance stronger than any fleet. Together, we will face whatever the stars bring us. The entire hall felt the weight of her words. The Vereen Empire, a civilization that had once valued strength above all else, now understood that courage and loyalty could come from unexpected places. Humanity had proven itself, and the Queen's heart had recognized the truth in him. Outside the palace, the twin suns were setting, casting long shadows across the crystal towers. The city of Shorath glimmered in the warm light, and the stars above began to shine. A new era had begun, one where humans and Vereen could stand together, side by side as allies, friends, and perhaps more. Rian and the Queen stood together at the center of the throne hall, looking at each other not as ruler and envoy, but as two beings who had shared danger, courage, and trust. The bond between them was clear to all, and the hall was filled with a quiet sense of awe. For Rian, this was more than victory or recognition. It was a connection that transcended worlds, a moment when the galaxy itself seemed to pause and acknowledge the courage of a human heart. Queen Saralyn whispered again, softly, yet every ear in the hall seemed to hear. I wish you were my mate, human. The words were no longer a secret or a quiet thought. They carried across the room, across the empire, and perhaps across the stars. Rian's heart swelled, but he stood steady, meeting her gaze with honesty and strength. I will stand by you, Your Majesty, as ally, protector, and friend, always. The Queen smiled, her eyes shining with pride and a quiet joy. For the first time in centuries, she felt truly understood and supported. Not by her soldiers, not by her advisors, but by a human who had shown her the meaning of courage, loyalty, and heart. And in that moment, the palace, the empire, and the galaxy seemed to recognize something extraordinary. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, but as equals. Their courage, honesty, and spirit had earned the respect of one of the greatest civilizations in the stars. The twin suns disappeared below the horizon, leaving the city glowing under the light of distant stars. The Vereen Empire was safe, the rebellion defeated, and a new chapter had begun, one where Ryan the human and Queen Saralyn, the ruler, would face the future together, united by respect, courage, and a bond stronger than any war or fear. The hall fell silent, but this time it was not from shock. It was a silence of understanding, of awe, and of hope. A human had stood beside the queen and shown the true power of the heart. The story of Ryan and Saralyn would be told for generations, not as a tale of war or conquest, but as a story of courage, loyalty, and the quiet strength of a human spirit that changed the galaxy forever.